Okay, it is December 19th, 2023, 6:02 p.m. Norwalk Inland Wetland Agency and Conservation Commission meeting. Could we have roll call, please?
Sure. Cheryl Brown,
Here.
Ed Halmico,
Here.
Heather Breslin,
Here.
Steve Clackey,
Here.
and Catherine Knight.
Here.
All right, so you do have a quorum.
Great. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on something that's not on the agenda tonight?
No, I don't see any attendees actually.
Wonderful. I'm still in the process of opening up meeting minutes. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Meeting minutes from last. I want the agenda. Okay. Receive discussion S23-630, Nathan Hale Drive. Looks like the Richies are already with us.
Yes, and if you're communicating, I don't see. Oh wait, hold on. I don't see Bill Kinney. Amelia, while we're talking, could you log into
And resend the invite?
Zoom account and send him a new invite, maybe?
Will do.
Double check his email, maybe. I don't know. Second. All right, Amelia, I sent you an email with Bill's email in it. All right, so while we wait for the applicant's representative, I'll just do a quick overview. Bear with me, I'm working from home, so I do not have all the screens that I am used to. So this first application is on Wilson Point. So hopefully you're all familiar where Wilson Point is. So this is the harbor on the right. This is Wilson Point, and the property is this location here. They do have a man-made wetland, pond surrounded by some wetland soils. And this application is a corrective action application following a complaint from a neighbor. The complaint had a variety of activities that it listed. We investigated all of those and really found that most of them we couldn't verify, but one of the complaints was that the vegetated buffer adjacent to the pond had steadily decreased over the years. And so we did issue a notice violation, and as directed by the notice violation, the homeowners have become applicants and did submit a corrective action application. The area in question is really this portion of now lawn in front of the pond. So I will stop sharing and I can kick it over to Mr. Kinney if you want to share your screen, or I can share the application if that's easier.
I'll share the screen. Thanks, Elaine. Good evening. I'm Bill Kinney with William Kinney Associates in Fairfield, and I'm a professional wetland scientist and soil scientist. And are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Let me see. Not seeing the typical boundary line that indicates, are you looking, I have, US, the Google Maps aerial?
Yes, we're looking at Google Maps.
All right, great, thanks. So, yes, we were contacted by the property owner to help them with this, and we got involved and helped in a couple different ways. The first thing we did was to go out and map the wetlands on the property. We did that in October, and then we worked closely with the property owner and with Alexis to develop a planting plan to revegetate an area of the buffer. And I'm going to show you. This was Alexis was helpful and indicated an area where she'd like to see some planting of native plants along the buffer of this pond. This whole area is a man-made system. It's been heavily worked over the last century. And so the wetlands are all disturbed and man-made, and the pond is man-made many decades ago. And so it's been a residential property for many decades. And we focused on this area that Alexis had designated, with an objective being remove the lawn from that area and prepare a planting plan that had native plants. And one thing that we also wanted to keep into consideration was the neighbor to the east has a view easement over this property, and east is at the top of the page here, north is to the left. So wanted to avoid installing plants, trees, essentially, that would grow tall and cover that area, or block their views, I should say. This is just a photo of the pond area. Now we're looking south. The house is behind me. Have the pond on the left, obviously, and the planting is going to be in this lower southwest corner of the pond. And this is what it looks like today. Here's a view looking north, and I'm standing in the area of the planting, the proposed planting, and the house is north of us in the background. And here's a view. We're at the south end of the pond, and so the planting would be along the south end. And it's the house in the background is the neighbor's house. It's my understanding they have this view easement of the harbor beyond. That's behind me when I'm taking this picture to the west. And here's another photo looking northwest. So that is that. We developed this plan. I worked on a property recently in Greenwich that was actually quite similar. It's a property near the water where views, the desire was to maintain some views, but also do some buffer planting, and that was along a wetland. So in our drawing, we included some photos of that planting, and it was a combination of a seeded area in the background with where we installed actually rooted plants in the foreground, and then we used the common demarcation boulders to help define that area and help to ensure that mowing and lawn creep didn't creep back into that area over time. So we shared this with the property owner, and they thought they really liked how this looked. So we proceeded with that design in mind and developed this plan view. So north is to the left again, the house is off the sheet to the left, and we have the pond, and we're looking at that southwest corner of the pond. And we have some low growing plant material here. This area, we're proposing the rooted ground cover, that native grasses, and then this back area would be seeded. And then in between that, some shrub plantings, some winterberry, and some sea myrtle, which is a common coastal a plant that you find growing close to the shore. And so we have a plant list to go along with this. There's 16 shrubs, 180 rooted plants, and then the seed mix. The seed mix is for a meadow it's a coastal meadow mix that's tolerant of salt spray and occasional inundation if you get a flooding. We have a detail for demarcation boulder and then common details for shrub and ground cover planting. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to attempt to answer them.
Commissioners? Sorry, I don't see you all, so yeah, just jump in.
I have two questions. One, I didn't know, Alexis, if you just had any historical photos just to see if you had just understanding a little bit about what has been taken away or changed with the property. And then the second question I had was just the demarcation of the wetland area. If you could just explain where the wetland area is. It looks like there's lawn in the wetland.
There is, and so there's an area that's been lawn for many decades. More recently, the area, this was not lawn, and we actually, and Alexis had provided photos to us, and this is how she determined and recommended an area for planting. But so this area has been maintained as lawn for quite a while. And so this photo is from 2015.
Yeah, and so I can show you, that's using our Nearmap app. And right, as Bill said, that's a 2015 photo where you can kind of see under the orange some of the previously existing vegetation. And then the bottom photo is pretty much today. I think it's a 2023 photo. And I can certainly show you more aerial photos if you want. I don't have any photographs on the ground of what it looked like previously, though I do just in my own historical recollection remember there had been some more vegetation near the that side of the pond. Would you like to see more photos? Or I mean, it pretty much is a kind of a lawn creep situation where all of the lawn that you see has been around for as long as we have aerial photos, at least. And then the area in yellow, it clearly had a mix of whether it was some emergence and then shrubs in the past. And it's solely on, excuse me, it's solely on looking at aerial photos that we base the violation on.
Can I just ask a quick question? I'm struggling for the connection here with the complaints. I don't know if that's relevant to this conversation or it's not. Like, I don't know what the complaints were, and essentially, right? So I don't know if it's
right. No, so there were a variety of complaints about the basically landscape management activities, and photographs were sent of the property with statements like, it's clear that they've done this. But then when you look at aerial photos, it's not clear that anything has changed.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So when we receive complaints, we obviously investigate all complaints, but we don't issue a violation unless we have a clear kind of before and after. And the gradual loss of vegetation adjacent to the pond was the only clear activity that we could document that was in violation of the wetland regs.
Okay, understood. I just want to make sure that we were covering covering that aspect of, but it sounds like that's what it is.
I have a question, I guess, for Alexis for clarification. Just in terms of kind of the inland wetlands view about what's beneficial for wetlands. I understand that there is a historical aspect. So is there a grandfathering in of lawn or plantings prior to maybe the Inland Wetlands Act in terms of that? And then what does that mean for ongoing activity for maintenance, people going in and cutting on wetlands and maybe
Yeah.
augmenting the lawn and things like that, because that's not necessarily beneficial for a designated wetland area.
Right, so the Inland Wetland Act does have some I don't call them exempt, they're permitted or unregulated. Well, no, they are regulated. They're permitted activities, and it's under Section 4 of the regulations. And one of the permitted activities is maintenance of a single family home. So the Wetland Act is based on activities and pre-existing areas are allowed under the act to be maintained. So if there is an existing lawn area, and you have quite a few in Norwalk, lawn areas that are underlain by wetland soils, the property owners are allowed to maintain that condition. So that is allowed. And that's part of why only the yellow shaded area that Bill is displaying was cited in the notice of violation, because that is the only area where there was clearly an activity that resulted in a change of vegetation from a more natural vegetated area to a lawn area. So the other areas, yes, they are underlain by wetland soil, and yes, some of them are maintained as wetlands, but there is nothing that you can do as a commission to require that those change.
Mr. Kenny, did you by any chance inventory any wetland functions that are present with wetland now?
Definitely, I could review those with you informally. We definitely studied the wetland as part of coming up with the design and went out there and looked at it. And and you have, typical 6 to 10 different functions that you would think of. And one is groundwater discharge, and you have one groundwater recharge. This area would be a discharge area. The property slopes up to the east. You have a drumlin off to the east side of here, so water comes down that slope and discharges out through that pond. So it's a good discharge area. It's really not a recharge area, so one of the primary functions is discharge. And then it's also a low-lying coastal area, so it provides some floodwater storage during flooding events. So it's a good high functioning piece of this. Also, the pond helps to trap pollutants and nutrients. So there's a water quality function that this area provides. Certainly, then there's habitat value. It provides opportunities to support wetland plants and wetland animals, aquatic fauna, and what else? Those are pretty much the primary functions.
Okay, thank you. All right, do any other commissioners have thoughts or questions? Or, I mean, the applicants are welcome to chime in too if they'd like.
No, we just wanted to show our commitment to the restoration. So we're available. We've met with Alexis a few times, had some good meetings with Bill and his team. So we're available if needed. This is our first event with the commission, so we're learning as we go, but open for any advice. And thank you all for the time.
Great, no problem. Thank you very much, and thanks for putting together what seems to be a thoughtful and complete package for us to review. So we really can't act on it tonight other than discuss concerns that the commissioners may have, and I haven't heard any thus far. I think probably, Alexis, if you were game for, do we aim for having a draft resolution for our January whatever meeting? So we can
Will do.
get the wheels rolling on something. Okay,
Like a plan.
easy enough.
All right.
All right, thank you all.
Okay,
Thanks very much. Have a nice evening.
Good night.
happy holidays. Yep.
Holidays.
Ba-bum, 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 ba-bum. Boy, lost my agenda again. Hold on. You said it's a hyperlink that threw me off, Alexis, or maybe, I don't know.
Oh, I know.
It's almost 2024, and I just can't keep my tabs straight. Okay. S23-631, 207 West Rocks Road. Don't say that too fast. West.
Eric. So this is also a corrective action application. Let me share my screen real quick, I guess, and I'll review its location.
Mm.
So let's see. All turned around. All right. Ooh. Okay. So in this picture, we're in the kind of the northeastern part of the city. This is the Merritt Parkway. This is the Route 7 connector. This is Main Avenue and all the Merritt buildings. And further up, just up here is the Walmart on Main Avenue. To find our landmarks, and West Rocks Road is here, and this is the property in question. So this is this is the property in March. So the majority of the property, especially in the front yard, is lawn in the back, and then it previously kind of had this non-lawny type stuff. The property lines are off a little bit. These stone walls are the property lines. So just kind of move this line over to these. This is it in October 1st, 2023, and that's actually when they were doing the work that resulted in the issuance of violation, where they were working in the rear. And I can show you more aerial photos of before, if you want, after the applicant has a chance to speak. I think Mr. O'Connor is here. And so I don't know if you are able to share your screen, or if you would like me to share my screen and I can go through your application. Mr. O'Connor? All right, while Mr. O'Connor works on maybe coming back to us, I'll just do some review of the aerial photos and what it looked like before. Switch to oblique. So currently it's the entire lot was disturbed. So they did hire a contractor to do some work in the back. They have an entrance around this side of the property.
Alexis, you want to share your screen perhaps?
Oh, I'm sorry. Good Lord. I forgot that I wasn't
I think Amelia was maybe
recovering
texting
from
you.
COVID. So
Is that
I
what that happened?
definitely have COVID brain.
Oh, no.
I just went
Oh,
to
no.
put that out. It's
No.
like the fog is it's real.
That's
Okay. Sorry about that. Here's a 2003 oblique view of the property. This is in March 2023. So again, the stone walls are the property line on the would that be the north and the east rear property. There's a fence along the northern property line. The property itself kind of comes somewhere out here. So just off the property is a large wetland and watercourse system. We were concerned when we stopped by and saw the work that the property owner was working within a wetland. The property had never been field delineated previously. And so they did do that work. Let's just see if I have any other. So again, this is kind of what it looks like, property line. Let me go to his, there's another view. You can see this is all water, this kind of gray stuff. Let me go to stop sharing. And find his. So this is Mr. O'Connor's application. So this is the form. Was submitted as all one PDF. So I'll just scroll through it. He did have some issues with retaining a soil scientist. The soil scientist that he initially hired kind of bailed on him. So he did receive, there is a lapse in time between the notice of violation and the initial directives. And then I had to amend the directives because of his issue with a soil scientist. He eventually did retain Bill Kinney. And Bill determined that the wetland extent is approximately here. So this is that one tree that you see in the aerial photos, the residence, the other areas he marks as it's cut off, but a mix of the Sutton fine sandy loam and eudorphins. So 308 are eudorphins. Eudorphins are disturbed upland soils. And then as it gets into the back, it's less disturbed soil, and he marks it as kind of a mix of the Sutton, which is a native soil profile, with some disturbed soil. So that's the wetland report. This is his narrative. Which says that they'd like to remove the stumps that any remaining stumps. They've removed some of them, most of them, and to continue to remove the stumps, logs, and brush from the downed trees, rake out the site, and reinstall with topsoil. And I believe that's it. It does say something about installing new, smaller trees to replace the old trees. But I'm not sure what number is being proposed. This is Mr. Kinney's report. And then, oh, I know, I guess it's the first one. Sorry for the scrolling. And so I can't quite read the reading of the submitted material 1 to 2 something. and the tree stump. So I think this is, at this point, the extent of the submitted plan.
So not much to go on here unless we have somebody.
Right. So Mr.
Well, yeah,
Connor, are
maybe-
you? Yeah.
Hi, Alexis. Yeah, sorry, I
Ah.
was having trouble unmuting before.
Okay,
I'm on my phone. That's why I appreciate the screen mirroring of your computer. I'm using an iPhone, so that's kind of difficult at this point.
gotcha.
Yeah, just obviously you went through the whole gist of obviously what we're trying to get done. Pretty much self-explanatory with our proposal, with our application, that we wanted to just obviously remove the tree stumps that we took down the trees that were pretty much dead, rotting, and ready to fall on my house. And then obviously restore that area to, a level grade to make sure that obviously there's proper drainage and that the yard doesn't turn into an additional swamp. And then obviously maintain the corner area where the wetlands is as well.
What would be the extent of the grading, Mr. Connor? O'Connor?
Pretty much my contractor, I don't know how much he was adding. It really wasn't a significant amount based on the level of our yard at this point. It's pretty much grading it just to a flat level from where the 308 soil is to where the wetlands is. And then obviously slope it into that, basically allowing for drainage and then restoring whatever wetlands were disturbed in that corner.
What is
Uh,
there anything that we can see on the existing grading on the site and what's being changed or for the proposed?
The only additional grading we had to do is for the purpose of the tree removals, because when those were removed, it pulled out the large areas of soil and they were pretty significantly sized trees. So unfortunately, based on that, it's probably level ground with the existing backyard that was originally there. We're not really going up as much. It's just to make sure that it's level, and obviously it allows for drainage, because prior to that, there was with the tree stumps and whatnot missing, it was not draining properly and basically pooling in the back. So the significance of the grade, there's not really much elevation raise at all.
Okay, where were the trees removed? I know there was one big one right
one-
in the middle.
Yeah, that was actually two trees. So that one was the ones, two of them were leaning towards my house, which were pretty much ready to fall because they were sticking out of the ground. And then the other two that were on the left side of the yard, those ones, one of them was dead, and then the other one, actually both of those were dead. So that's the if you want to say the southeastern corner of the yard, if you're facing my yard. And then there was one dead one straight back, right just on the border of where the wetlands delineation was. Small one.
Okay, so we're talking about two or 1 2.5 trees outside the wetland area, and then one along the west property line, kind of where the wetland delineation lines meet the property line.
No, none over there. Sorry, that would be the eastern side then. There was two on the eastern side. Actually, I should say three. There were smaller trees. And then the one directly in the back, which bordered the wetland delineation, and then the one in the dead center, which is two trees actually.
Okay,
So I'm
I
gonna
think
say a total of 6.
okay. All right, so we, as a general rule, are really only comfortable commenting and acting on applications that are documented in a way where everyone can understand what's happening. I don't think we're quite there with this application yet. So, and tonight we don't really make any decisions or anything like that tonight. We just receive the paperwork and talk about it and ask for more information if necessary, or express concerns, et cetera, and then at our next meeting we'll see if there's any updates to the application, and then maybe act on it then. So I think, do you understand what we are here to do and why we're concerned with the wetland?
Yeah, we totally understand. And we're not here to obviously take away from anything you guys obviously don't want us to do. We're basically just trying to restore it as it was. I mean, prior to that, it was a yard. I mean, obviously from the GIS, you could see the aerial view. There was really we had no knowledge of any kind of wetlands on our property because of the delineations were not there yet. And based off that corner where we're pretty much not doing any work in that corner, that's where we want to try and actually now restore to actually a better area than what it was, because at one point it was basically grass. And when we
Okay.
pulled, there was no trees in that area. So that's obviously why we stayed away from that corner, because we knew there is the river source over there. And like when Alexis has been here multiple times, she's aware of the property and the water source area over there, basically showing that, I always told her that was not going to be a part of our concern. It was more so the front half by my porch and obviously the eastern side of the yard where there was always grass. I mean, there hasn't been no grass there ever. So,
Okay. I mean, so it would be helpful to have that, what you have in your head and what you and Alexis have talked about, put down on paper. And I realize you've had, it sounds like, some issues with getting a professional on board. But that would really help us if you're open to suggestions for helping get this resolved.
yeah, I mean, at this point, we're just trying to clean up our yard because of what obviously the safety concerns are now. I have a pile of trees laying in the backyard, and I have 2 dogs. So it's unfortunate that I can't really let them out into that area right now. And then in my front yard, I have a mound of dirt, which is actually it was created for a roadway for machinery. That's pretty much it. And we were just looking, honestly, just to clean up for the time being, just to get everything in order for the coming spring, because we're not obviously moving forward with anything anytime soon, obviously, until you guys approve us. Granted that happens, and then obviously, if we can work with something till then, that would be great. But yeah, we're not looking to do anything further till after the winter, obviously.
Okay. Well, yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, I'm sorry, Heather, you want to jump in?
No, I was just gonna ask if we just need some sort of drawing of the what was removed and what the plantings would be in the wetland area, as well as how much fill is needed, right?
Well, we won't be filling in
so
the back.
well,
Sorry, go
when we
ahead.
say fill, we're talking about the material that that's currently out there.
Okay.
So,
I have
So
a question. Are there erosion control? Like, is the site stabilized currently? And is that something that we need to be concerned about with the tree removal and everything? Like, is the soil disturbed?
Yeah, I can show you some aerial photos. No, there's not currently, I'll show you photos from when we went out there real quick. And again, for any application, I recommend that you, have a look in person if possible. We inspected on a day that it was literally pouring rain, but this is, just taking that step back, this is the material that Mr. Connor had mentioned. They did put in a nice access along the side of the house, and then this is the rear of the property. So the stone walls that you saw in the aerial photographs are here, and then along the back here. And so closest to the deck, you can see the existing grade and the current kind of smoothed material grade. Very little change in topography there. Closer to the rear, you start to see a little bit more elevation change. This is the the pile of cut trees that was mentioned by the homeowner. This is the fence on the other side property, close to the side property line. So this area is not within the wetland. This is directions, but this is the
southeast corner or so?
Southeast corner. Thank you. That is not wetlands. There is a wetland on the adjacent property, approximately in this location here.
But
That's-
that grade was raised right there, right? Against the
Yes,
stone
right,
wall?
right. So, and then, let's see if I have the back corner. And then this is approaching that back corner. So here's the pile of logs. The back corner is kind of off the screen, but it's definitely soft material. It's just a drainage pipe that we saw. This is a city drainage pipe. But right, so this is that back corner. So you can see it's I believe that this tree, I've not had a chance to go out there since the wetlands were delineated, but I believe that this tree is within the wetland area. I don't know if Mr. O'Connor can see any of the screen.
Yes, I can see it, Alexis.
And so is that tree within the wetland area?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, so it's up here
It's
somewhere.
just prior to it, I believe. Yeah, if you're coming more south.
Okay. And so, you know, it was, I'd say, more of a vegetation removal and then a massaging of the grade. So actually, so these two rocks, I'll go back to aerial photos. You can see those two large rocks in the aerial photo for your reference. If you remember what those look like, then I'll just go through. The rest of these are so there's kind of a good view. And again, so it tapers to the existing grade here as well. This is looking back at the house, and the wetland would be to the right. And then let me just go back to the aerial photos. Oops. And so I'm fairly sure that those two large rocks are these same rocks here. And so, Mr. O'Connor, I think that the concern is that the stone area, what had previously been a divide between lawn, and here's that one kind of lone standing tree in the middle of the lawn, and versus this area, which does not appear to be lawn previously. There's a lot of trees. So here's the same kind of condition in March of 2022.
Is that tree along the southeast property line still standing?
This one?
Yeah.
That one, I believe, I can't tell, but
Don't.
I believe that one was one of the dead ones we had to take down. That was a safety hazard, and that was falling
Yeah.
on my house, unfortunately, and would have probably
Right.
caused a bigger issue afterwards.
And I'm sorry,
don't-
all the grading work was for what exactly?
The tree removals, so the tree stumps when we pulled them out, and then obviously to get better drainage in the yard.
So
Because the middle of the yard was actually a bowl, so we had to. My contractor came out and we actually did a leveling and just made sure that obviously we had to add to the point where it would drain properly.
you filled in the middle of the yard essentially.
Yes.
Okay. But by
Yes.
adding, and you're concerned about drainage from where? From the house?
Well, the yard itself was a bowl. It was a
Oh,
bowl
okay.
shape. So unfortunately, it pooled very significantly, and
Yeah.
there was So you could see the middle of the yard, all that the dead grass area. That pretty much is
Yeah.
like the center where it was causing the pooling issues.
Yeah, so probably what happened is when they built these houses, that was wetland. And they filled in over the top with fill. And that's why it's not showing up on Bill Kenny's delineation map, most
Right.
likely. So it's just, another
Yeah.
case. So what happens a lot, Mr. O'Connor, is that we come across situations where property owners are dealing with a lot that is already has been transformed by humans, beyond it's where it was naturally originally, right? And so we're constantly playing this game of, okay, well, what was it at the time that all these statutes became in play, and what can we live with, and what's good enough, and blah 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 blah. So I'll just say for myself, and I'm not speaking for any other commissioners, but it does seem like there's quite a bit of work done. Definitely what we call the upland review area, which is 50 feet away from the wetland. And then I think within the wetland, identified wetland area itself. So I would want to see real drawings from an engineer to show how the grade has changed. Yeah, and I don't know. I think the wetland area, it seems to me like we've got an excavator just kind of smooth out the whole yard all the way up until into the wetland is what it kind of seems like to me. Am I wrong in that? I mean, if the rocks were clearly close to the rear property line, and then if that wetland as delineated is going at least over half the way across the southish property line, I mean, I really don't. It's hard for me to believe that we haven't pushed some dirt at least into the wetland to a certain degree. Am I totally misreading that?
No, I listen, I totally agree with what you're saying. We're not here to destroy any kind of natural environment in our yard. You know, we just obviously want to make it a safe environment and friendly for us, obviously, without disturbing anything that is naturally occurring that we saw previously, you know, moving in. We've only been here a year. So we moved in, and everything what you're seeing is pretty much, you know, those prior pictures with the rocks, those were actually placed by the previous homeowner, and she did that pretty much as just a lining of the yard. It wasn't, she never had any kind of surveys done, any delineation done. So that was pretty much where the grass grew. And obviously when Bill came here to test, you know, we did test every corner of the yard, and he said, you know, what's that southeastern corner? He said, I think it's no problem. It seems like it's good. Obviously it's been disturbed, but that was probably pulling that tree. There's a tree right there. So, you know, we're just, our concern is just at this point, just getting our yard to a safety friendly area with regards to what's been left. You know, obviously we're not continuing any work because of the fact that, you know, it was shut down when obviously Alexis first came here back in October. And then we obviously had, you know, significant problems with our prior soil professional with major delays for 2 months straight. And then we finally got Mr. Kenny to come out and take care of business like he did. And he did a great job. And at this point, we're pretty much just trying to wrap everything up and make, you know, the yard a yard, and then obviously restore what we should be restoring to its proper, you know, environment. You know, we're not here to try and destroy any wetlands. We didn't have any bad intentions, you know, obviously.
Yeah, no, we're implying that. I just, it was just okay. So can anybody else put it in a better way? But usually the way this works then is if, for example, dirt has been dragged into the wetland over the wetland soils, or, you know, the grade has been affected, which is going to affect water movement, or trees have been removed, which is going to affect flora and fauna, et cetera, and how the wetland handles moisture, et cetera. We would have an engineer say, okay, well, in order to restore the wetland to its original function and original condition, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. So that's what I think I would need in order to be able to move forward with the yay or nay on however we're planning to fix this. But other commissioners are welcome to chime in.
And I'll just chime in that normally an applicant submits an application and then I'm around and have a chance to review it first.
Right.
But I have been out, so the conversation that I typically have with an applicant prior to the first meeting, but after submission, hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so Mr. O'Connor, after this meeting, I'd suggest reaching out to Alexis and finding a time to sit down with her, and she can give you more context and some suggestions and just a lay of the land on how this usually works. And I think maybe that'll help you understand really kind of where we're coming from.
Okay.
Great.
I'd also like to add that I think that erosion control needs to be set up immediately on the site. Looking at the way that the soil is disturbed and the fill has been moved around, there's a lot of silt that has the opportunity to wash into the wetland. And I think we need to take care of that as well. I think that's kind of a pressing item with all the rain that we've been getting this winter.
I
Yeah,
agree.
with that. Okay. Mr. O'Connor, are you up for that sort of thing? Do you know what we're talking about?
No, could you elaborate? I'm sorry. I understand the elements what you're saying, but not really the solution. We have obviously, I mean, I don't know if the wetlands fencing material is sufficient enough. That's what we've obviously boundaried our wetlands with.
Do you
With
know what
the-
silt fence is?
That's what we have, correct.
The black-
You have
Okay.
silt fence around the back.
Oh, you,
The photos that Alexis showed, unfortunately, this is nothing against her. She hasn't been here since Bill Kenny came by. Everything was silt fenced where he delineated. That's why
Awesome.
there is no runoff into that water source or anything like that, just because we wanted to make sure the boundary was secure. And then obviously if the machinery was allowed to work again, they would know where not to work.
Right.
okay,
perfect.
okay, great. That was perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's exactly the sort of thing we're talking about. So yeah, I think we're pointed in the same direction, I hope. Okay, do any other commissioners have anything to add or ask? Mr.
We'll just
O'Connor, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Need to see a good planting plan in the plans as well, I think, when they get assembled.
Absolutely.
And Mr. O'Connor, do you have anything else for us?
No, I think that's it. I mean, honestly, you know, again, our main concern right now, it wasn't obviously to pressure you guys into making any decisions. It's just to make sure that obviously our yard is a safe environment at this point, just due to the, you know, debris that we have to obviously leave behind for the time being. Is there any consideration as regarding to removing the giant logs and tree stumps that are a safety hazard at this point, and the, you know, down stuff basically that has nothing to do with the project itself? Is that a possibility or no? Is that not consideration?
How would that be done? So right now you've got kind of a mud pit out there, so you're gonna have the excavator,
Just removing through a dump truck, yeah.
the
the
driving dump truck back there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to the gravel area.
Oh, there
So
we
here-
go. There's some silt
Yeah.
fence.
You're right. So this is the pile. These are the two rocks that are,
Okay.
this is a reference. There's
Well,
woodchip pile, tree pile, and then there's one wetland flag. And
Yeah.
then there's the silt fence kind of running behind it.
well, we don't want any doggies getting hurt. I mean, does anybody have any concerns about at least getting rid of the pile, the big stuff, and not really disturbing anything else?
I don't, I wouldn't want any stumps to be pulled if they're still actually in the ground. But removal of the wood that's already chopped up, I wouldn't have a problem with.
Yeah, so no further grubbing, which would require a permit, but removal of the pile.
Agreed. I would
Mr.
agree,
O'Connor?
like removal of the pile, but not pulling up stumps or further soil work.
No, we would appreciate that. Absolutely. That
Yeah,
it's, you know, coming from, you know, I'm a police officer in Greenwich, so I have a public safety standard. I just obviously want to make sure that, you know, safety is number one, and obviously not really the aesthetic portion, but yeah, just the you know, the atmosphere of the backyard right now is pretty much just I don't want to call it a dumpster, but it's pretty much a trash heap. So yeah, we wanted to obviously make sure that not only is it safe, but obviously there's nothing that's going to cause more problems back there when we do decide obviously what we can do moving forward. You know, just rotting logs and stuff in the backyard is probably not the safest thing either as well, because I know it attracts all sorts of not great stuff to the environment.
Okay, yeah, so just so we're on the same page, get rid of the big logs, don't touch anything else. Good to go?
That's great. Thank you.
Cool. All right. And definitely reach out to Alexis. She'll help you out. And then hopefully next time in January we can help move it forward.
Thank you all. We appreciate it very much, and thank you again for the consideration.
You bet. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Almost 7 o'clock.
Oh, it's almost 7 o'clock. Thank you. Brain, come on. All right, so let's
Don't think that's gonna happen in 3 minutes.
what, approval of minutes?
Oh, no, not that.
Okay, so I'll
Okay.
move to amend the agenda to review and approve the minutes and then hop back to public hearing by 7 o'clock.
I'll
Second?
second the minutes.
Oh, wait, we're not there yet.
Oh, the
There's an
second,
agenda
second your
item.
motion to move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so Heather, how do the minutes look?
It looked wonderful to me.
Second,
I'll approve them.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we did that too fast. Okay.
Oh, you just wanted my opinion, Steve.
I don't ask anybody for their opinion ever. Just kidding.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Carey, will return to your item after the public hearing concludes. And
Womp womp. Sorry, Brian. Let's see. Can we talk about anything else? I can retroactively say that my motion was to do approval minutes and one other thing that took no more than a minute and a half. No.
yeah, sure, go for it. Second,
No, we're making it hard for Diana. Never
I don't
mind.
think there's anything else other, I mean, we're down to 1 minute,
We're
so,
down to 1 minute.
all right. Then I'm taking a quick bathroom break before we,
A 1 minute bathroom break?
I can do it, I can do it.
Okay, good luck. I'm not gonna say anything remotely sexist.
I'm sorry, I actually have to run to another meeting at 7:30. I don't know if we want to just continue this.
Continue what? Are you part of the
sure.
public hearing?
How
No,
about, well, no, this is about the New Canaan Avenue.
yeah,
Oh, right.
Station. Do you want the commission to have a little bit of they're not making any decision tonight, because I have not drafted a resolution, but would you like them to have a little discussion about the new information that you provided, or would you?
yeah,
like
that's fine.
to-
I gave them the invasive species report that they requested, so I can be available at the next meeting as well. I apologize. I have a meeting I have
Okay.
to run to in Stratford.
That's fine. So, this will be recorded and we'll just review the information that you've submitted after this other item. And then, it'll be on, no decisions will be made tonight and it'll be on, the next agenda.
Thank you very much. I apologize about that.
No worries. Good night.
Take care.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Let's begin a public hearing.
Okay, let me just do the roll call again. So Steve Clocky,
Yeah.
Catherine Knight, Ed Halowenko,
Yeah.
Cheryl Brown,
Here.
Heather Breslin.
Here,
Okay, so you have a full quorum for the public hearing. This is a public hearing that has been continued. I think this is the second continuance of the hearing on 199 Newtown Avenue. At the last meeting, there was continued discussion regarding the site plan, and the applicant has submitted revised plans. I think they got to us late yesterday afternoon. So, Mr. Martin is here. So I think that we'll probably follow kind of the same basic protocol of a public hearing, and that will give the applicant a chance to make a presentation of the latest materials, open it to public comment, and then the applicant gets a final rebuttal. And then hopefully at the end of all that, we'll see where we are. Mr. Markey.
Good evening. Again, Dean Martin, Grumman Engineering. Let me see if I can share my screen. Wrong plan. I can't get to the right one. Well, I have this. This is just the updated Land Tech A2 survey, which was presented to staff. Again, it has updated topography.
Can you zoom in a little bit, Dean, please?
I'm sorry?
Can you zoom in a little bit, please?
Yes. Okay, there we go. This is the building portion of the property. The updated topography, a couple of things that are on this survey that weren't on the original little retaining wall right here. The wood steps or the area down adjacent to the water that we had on our site plan to be removed and planted. Topography is very similar to the old survey. I did review this with Alexis last week, and we were looking at the grades, and it's very similar.
And then if you need, Amelia has posted everything that you sent us on our website. If you need.
Here's my updated site plan. Couple of things that we did to the site plan included extending this stone swale down around the proposed driveway and off the end of the driveway. Additionally, in talking to the owner, we were proposing to install a Belgian block curbing, this red line along the outside of the driveway from the proposed catch basins down towards the building to collect water. Additionally, we added a catch basin at the end of the driveway to collect that water and get it into the storm retention system. We have, I've shown on here in this dark green line, which is the adjusted or enhanced buffer planting line, which is, I'll show you, which is on the Environmental Land Solutions latest planting plan. The buffer was increased to the 25-foot offset of the wetland was increased on the eastern side, and also was increased to 25 feet on the western side of the house, and quite a bit substantially more than what was on the previous plan. The number of plants have gone from 69 to 84 or to 83. So you added quite a few number of additional plants, excuse me. Let's see if I can pull up the other one, which is, okay, here's the updated landscape planting or buffer planting plan by Environmental Land Solutions. As you can see, the stone line has been increased, and what was done on this plan was he left the old line. It's hard to see, but there's red stones right through here. This was the stone demarcation line from the last plan. This is the new enhanced buffer planting demarcation line. So this area has been extended. Same thing on the eastern side. there's the old stone line is in red right through here, and the new line is pushed out to 25 feet, a little bit further, almost to the end of to the eastern end of the rear of the house. So he did, enhance that buffer as one of the requests was. I think those are the changes that we had made. Be happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Well, and then you had also added the swale along the driveway, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, as we discussed the other day, I removed that extended swale, but I did add a little swale here at the end of the driveway. And because we're curbing around the end of the driveway and installing a new catch basin, I did not extend this gravel swale any further than off the end of the driveway. But this will help to collect any water that bypasses the catch basins in the slope of the driveway and get that additional water back into this retention system as well.
Just a question on the little section of lawn that goes right up to the wetlands line. How is that going to be demarcated in terms of, are they planning on putting lawn into the wetlands?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Up to
You cut out.
The section of wetlands that's from the edge of the pond to, where the lawn comes up to the wetlands line, or what's happening in that patch of
This
land?
right, this area right here where my pointer is.
No, just below the wetlands line.
Well, the edge of the wetlands is basically the edge of the water course, I believe.
Yeah, there's like a 5-foot difference between the wetlands and the water course right here.
Okay, so
That
how's
the-
that being, just out of curiosity, how's that being like the boundary there? Is that gonna hold, or are they gonna lawn up to
No,
the
they're not
edge of
gonna
the
plant-
pond?
They're not going to plan into the wetlands, no.
That's something that occurred to me actually, Catherine, too, is if that was, say, a gravel path or something that we know we can't get any, herbicide. Well, I guess they could still apply herbicides to a gravel path. Sorry. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, or just kind of going in and then, gets filled up over time, like just the wetlands then gets diminished, because it's not, wetlands is more than just like where the water sits for the edge of the pond.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, we could
And
make a
just
stipulation that
protecting that.
area would not be planted as lawn. It could be, as you said, wood chips or something like that.
Well, wood chips wouldn't really be a good, yeah.
I mean, I think lawn, the way that the drawing appears, it looks like there is more wetland that's than what's there, if that makes sense. So it really does kind of go kind of drop down to the pond, and there's I don't know. There's not as much wetland real estate there as maybe it looks like on the plan. It's not like it's a little peninsula there, really, if that makes sense. How wide, Mr. Martin, is the pond access way?
6 feet.
Can we look at the other plan, Dean,
Yes.
please, with the boulders on it?
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
And then.
Yeah.
Catherine, what do you think if rather than the boulders going like this and making a path with no clear demarcation between the lawn and the wetlands, what if the boulders are just straight across and then, whoever wants to walk to the pond just walks around the boulders? Does that make you feel any better? And then the green stripe on the previous drawing continues around that?
Yeah, because we're looking at longer term, so it's just, there's the plan now for the current owners, but then that, this also holds for precedent and everything going forward. So that would be Yeah. You know, just in terms of the maintenance and the disturbance and pesticide applications, etc.
Dean, does
Okay,
that make
yeah, so
sense what we're going
any,
after here?
Yeah, we can just, you know, remove these two boulders and put one more right here so that, sure. I don't think there's any issue with that.
Okay.
Was there any update on the drainage pipe that was potentially cutting through the property?
No, the only thing I could say is that, let me just scroll over here. You know, that pipe was on the Costas property. So if, you know, I'm sure there's a pipe there, you know, if we encounter it, it's going to be during the installation of the utilities, through this section. And, you know, if we encounter the pipe, we'll repair it. I mean, you know, it's highly unlikely that, you know, the pipe, because this is the property boundaries, that pipe would extend down into our building site area. You know, most likely would be, you know, straight through here, right down to the pond in this area somewhere.
Right.
And we do have a
Really out of
notation
our
on
purview
here.
anyway.
And we do have a notation, you know, everybody would be aware that there is potentially a pipe there. So, and I spoke to the owner today and he's aware of it. So if it's encountered, you know, they'll know it when they're digging. And they'll make sure that it's, you know, if it's damaged, it'll be repaired.
Yeah, I see that at the end of the driveway, you've included now pervious driveway and a drain inlet. That's a new addition. So I think that should help address some of the concerns that the neighbors were showing.
Hey, what's that darker yellow or orange patch off to the west, Dean?
This?
Yep.
This is just the area that we had depicted as that debris pile, which was to be removed and replanted.
Cheryl, have you gotten a good look at the planting plan? Or anyone else?
I mean, I was looking, oh, whoops, I'm sorry. How'd that happen? Lost my camera. I mean, I saw what they had pulled up. I mean, I can take a closer look at it if you want to pull up the plant list, but it looked like a good buffer. I know I saw some clethra.
yeah, all native plants.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good mix.
Okay. Alexis, I forgot to ask, was anybody from the public online to comment?
Yes, there are. So would you like to move to public comment?
Other commissioners, is that okay? Okay. Get some
Okay,
numbers.
so members of the public, if you'd like to speak, just use the raise your hand feature to indicate that you would like to speak, and I'll promote you in order received. So first is the Butts, Michael and Nancy Butts. You should be able to speak.
Good evening. Michael Butts, 7 Stony Brook Road, Norwalk, Connecticut. I abut this property. Last time we had the meeting, Mr. Martin said that the dispute he and I had between the actual level of the property, that the wall somehow was even, and there was a 5-foot span that it just pushed up on. I took a self-leveling laser and I went back there, and where Klein's property and my property meet, there's a 9-inch difference, 8 3/4 inches. I'm lower than that. And that whole span across the straight run in the back I'm never level. And I did it 5 foot off my side and 5 foot off 199. I didn't stand in a hole to get a low mark, and I didn't stand on a high spot to get a high mark. So I don't understand how Mr. Martin can say that it's even. My land is lower than 199. And even though you've got this riprap swale or whatever you want to call it that goes down to the driveway, I still believe that when we get these heavy rains, like yesterday, and even though it wasn't that much, it was only 1.5 inches, but still, the water is going to come onto my property. It doesn't have any other choice to go. I made that suggestion in the beginning that they could have, instead of trucking to fill out, they could have made a 18-inch to 2-foot earth berm right along the wall and plant it with something. And that would have mitigated the water, period. Not slow it down, not hope that we don't get one of these 6-inch rainstorms like the picture that I showed you and everybody had a chance to look at that floods the entire lower part of my property. Now, even though Mr. Martin said he's not responsible for everybody's water, I don't want to be responsible for everybody's water, but 199 is responsible for their water and part of 197 because the back of that property is going to follow that downhill curve and come this way. I'm requesting earth. So it's very hard for me to get the point across because I think that if we were at town hall and I had a chance to ask these questions immediately after Mr. Martin said them, it would make a lot of difference instead of 3 weeks later. And I know that Alexis said 2 meetings ago that let's face it, it's a building lot and somebody's going to build there. And I understand that, but I think it should be done correctly. And the correct way is while you're changing the topography of that land, you have to be responsible for that water and not to impact me. And that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Alexis, do we have anyone else who'd like to comment?
Any other members of the public? Mr. Butts raised his hand again. I don't know if that's his wife. Should I let?
Sure, if it's Mrs. Butts.
Oh,
Sure.
no,
No? Okay.
removed the hand. So I think that is it for public comment.
Okay. I mean, Mr. Martin, you are welcome to respond, or we can just let it roll. It's up to you.
I mean, I understand Mr. Butt's concerns and, you know, we've tried to do a plan that would alleviate any additional impact onto his property.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, so we are theoretically on the verge of closing the public hearing. Does anyone have anything? Oh, I'm
We
sorry.
now have one. We have,
Oh, we have someone else?
one late taker.
Okay,
Hold on a second. Oops. Okay, you should have the ability to speak.
Yes, hi, this is Carlos Costa from 3 Stony Brook Road.
I'm sorry, could you just say your name again?
This is Carlos Costa from 3 Stony Brook Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Martin before said he spoke to the owner. Was he talking about me or was he talking about the property owner? About the drainage, you know, my drainage pipe.
Okay, we can answer that. Any other comments? So during the public hearing, we don't have a back and forth between the applicant, whether it's a virtual meeting or an in-person meeting. It's not a back and forth discourse, but the the commission uses the information provided by the public to help render a decision. So we have logged in your comment about clarification about which property owner. And then is there any other comments that you'd like the commission to know regarding the application? Or was that?
Well, I just want to clarify that he said he spoke to the property owner. I just want to make sure, because I did not speak to him, so I want to make sure that he's not talking about me. I didn't talk to him
Okay.
about the drainage issue at all.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Again, Mr. Martin, feel,
Yes, no, what I was referring to was the owner of 199. I spoke to him, who will be the contractor. And so we reviewed that there was a pipe that probably goes underneath the proposed driveway, and he is aware of it, and he will, make sure that if it's encountered, it'll be repaired. It was definitely, my client who I spoke with.
great, thank you. All right, Alexis, any other stragglers?
Last call for public comments. That's it.
Okay. Commissioners, do we have any more questions for Mr. Martin? Nope. Heather, was that a throat clearing or
I'm deciding whether I want to ask this question, but I'm still, I guess my only question is what the difference is in the grading from how it is or was, or I don't know what stage we're in, to how it will be over, yeah. And we're talking about this, which sorry, I don't know direction here, but like the top left, is that
Northwest.
this is the area in question with the, and that's inside of the upland, that's inside of our, okay.
yeah,
So
pretty much
what-
the whole big part of the lot is within the upland
Yeah,
review area for the water. course.
I thought so. So I guess my question, just for clarification, would be, what is it now versus proposed? What's the change there?
That'd be that other plan, maybe, Dean, would better show it?
No, this would be the best plan. In this corner, really not changing anything up here, cleaning out this a little bit, would be a slight fill, 6 inches or so over the top of this retention system with a little swale here to get any water running down towards the pond. Back here, we'd be, kind of cutting the grade back slightly right at the end here, maybe 6 inches, for the driveway area. And the rest of the driveway up the hill is going to be a slight fill area, to get some crowning in the road, in the driveway. But again, kind of not really changing the grade much of any in this building area. Again, a little fill. The 72 contour this is the proposed 72. The existing 72 is right here.
Okay. So it's really the
And
impervious surface.
This is all going to be pervious, yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the driveway that's the concern, then the
Correct,
increase.
yes.
Got it. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I just didn't know if I was missing.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so just to make it clear, this is the last time we can take in any information from the applicant or the public. So if there's anything you're not sure of, now's the time. Going once, going twice? Okay. I will move to close the public hearing, Alexis, right? I always forget, do we need a motion for that or not? Yes,
Yes,
okay.
please.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So don't go anywhere, Mr. Martin. So we will be, I don't think I have to do anything to allow us to go back to discussion and or decision for S 23-629. No, wait a second. All right, we
Yeah,
skipped that. We're gonna keep going with discussion decision for S 23-626 for this same property.
Right.
All right, so
Mr. Martin, I'm going to, if you could just, yeah, mute yourself and stop your screen share.
oh, I guess he doesn't have to stay, I guess.
Right, he can't speak anymore, so. But he can certainly stay, just non-participatory at this part.
Okay, do we have a draft resolution? I'm sorry if I missed it.
No, we don't, because we effectively received the revised plans this morning.
Right, okay. All right, well then, I don't think there's a whole heck of a lot else to, I mean, is there other things you guys want to talk about? Tonight, or should we save the discussion for, since we can't change the application now? Right? So,
We can't even discuss it further, right?
we could discuss it all we
You
want.
can, the
Well,
applicant can. So,
Yeah.
so you
There was
can't go out
just-
to the site. Yeah, there's just, you
Got
can
it.
discuss what's already been presented.
So there was the comment though in the hearing about moving the boulder, so that can't be changed? Or
We'll have
can
to
it?
address that as a condition in the
Oh,
resolution,
okay, okay.
which I think is simple enough to do.
We could do
We
that.
trust, we
Okay.
trust Mr.
Yeah,
Martin to
and
do
so
that.
we'll include our regular conditions for new single family homes. I think my computer's freezing.
It's fine to us.
Okay. To include filing a map on the land records showing the buffer. And that helps inform future homeowners that there is a wetland watercourse and required buffer. And all kind of the other special conditions that are typical for a single family, new single family home construction.
Groovy.
Right.
Okay. Thanks. All right, then let's move on. We did the minutes. It's getting kind of late, so, conservation
And then-
initiatives. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to return to discuss
Oh, right.
284 New Canaan Avenue.
Sure. Do we need a motion for that?
No.
All
We
right,
don't.
let's go back. Let's
So,
go back and talk about the S 23-629 284 New Canaan Avenue.
All right. The applicant submitted a invasive plant management plan after your comments at the last meeting. So no changes to the proposed site plan. They're still sticking with the proposed parking lot and area, but they have proposed as mitigation invasive plant management for that front wetland / detention basin. So have a look at that. And I don't know if, if you want to have any further discussion, I guess, I don't know where people, what you're thinking. I did not write a draft resolution for this one in part because I'm not sure what to what to write.
All right, well, let's definitely talk about that then, so we can be prepared to move
You'll
forward.
have
in
further
January.
discussion at your next meeting. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, how are people feeling then about it?
This is the trade-off, right? Essentially, we're doing a trade-off of like, right? Is that how they're gonna do invasive species management?
They're
sort of
gonna
as a-
clean up the little depression.
the ditch, yeah, as a
As a mitigation for any potential impacts that
okay.
they're
Were they going to also improve the planting as well, the planting plan? Or is my memory off on that? Did
Thank
they,
you.
did they
That was
send
one of
in?
your suggestions. That was, I believe, one of your suggestions. They did not update the plan though,
Okay,
but I can re-relay that suggestion.
okay, that would be great.
All
I mean,
right.
I
Okay.
guess just, I don't know if it, where it sits like in the general comments, but, you know, one of the things that I've been trying to understand is just, and I think other commissioners have raised the point of, you know, this is a significant encroachment onto wetland watercourse in terms of the proximity of the road and the traffic that's going to be going, you know, really goes across like the corner of it. And it sounds like there's been a lot of shuffling of wetland watercourse on the property to accommodate kind of the industrial nature of the site. And there's some delineations to protect the rest that's there. You know, this is for 6 parking sites, and it's obvious, like from the conversations, that they still need more parking than what that would accommodate. And so, you know, for the longevity, I don't know how much longer with all the growth that they've had, whether they are going to fit into the site or then be looking at moving. And then you've set a precedent of putting in a parking lot, which then gets added on to going further because you already have that encroachment onto the wetlands watercourse. So I guess that's, I don't know where that sits in terms of regulations, but
Yeah. I mean, I think you can go to regulations, which I'm slowly pulling up. And right, so part of the considerations for decision, I'll just read them to you. And so it is I think the purpose for the proposal is a fair question, basically. That you can, you know, all applications have a purpose in mind. So sometimes, you know, it's a new home. Sometimes it's protecting an existing home from a perceived threat of, you know, trees or whatever. And then, you know, for this one, the applicant is saying that they need additional parking spaces for kind of the office staff. And I'd say that within your regulations, there is, let's see. So standards for, I'm just reading from section 6810, which is considerations for decision in your regulations. And section B is standards and criteria for decision. And so first off, somewhat obviously, is the environmental impact of the proposed activity on wetlands and watercourses. So that's kind of your primary focus. And so you have to have impact on wetlands and watercourses to kind of move forward into the next ones. But the second is the applicant's purpose for any feasible or prudent alternatives to the activity, to which alternatives would cause less or no environmental impact to the wetlands or watercourses. So I'd say that, yes, it's within your purview to kind of question the purpose of the activity.
I mean, I guess the question I have is just, there's nothing that said that this lot has to be specifically designated for the activities that are currently on it. So when you look at it, there's an office space and there's lots, you know, how they wind up utilizing the office space and the lots, but there is, you know, in terms of the activities or the purpose of what they're doing business-wise within that property, they need the allocated parking lot space for other activities. So they can't seek to create more parking in the actual lot, because there's quite a bit of lot space. So, you know, they're asking for encroachment onto wetlands because of their business growth. And so, you know, I just don't know where we stand in terms of saying like, well, you know, if a business grows, does that mean that then we have to just further encroach onto wetlands to accommodate growth of business when there's physical constraints on a site? And they already have a building and they have quite a substantial lot that they could work with within the site, and they have to make a decision whether that suits their business needs or not. I don't know.
So let me ask this question, because I agree with what you're like, and it sounds like, I don't know. I took it as there are potential future plans of something. So I don't know what that really means, but I'm just going my assumptions. Is there a trade-off or something like the invasives, like the plantings, like restoration of some other whatever that we can build in that we're willing to make? I don't know, just as an option, because I think they explored the other alternatives. We know that it's either like we, you know, don't approve it, and we get that, but if we do want to, is there other concessions, or is there something that we can do to sort of even out the ground?
Yeah, and so again, it's not
Not
really
literally.
a concession. It's the what you're looking at. So the wetland regulations are constructed very differently than like the zoning regulations, which zoning regulations are very broad brush. You know, all properties within the zone have a 30-foot setback. And it doesn't matter if it's on a slope or it's forested or if it's wooded. Zoning just says, you know, everyone's here. Wetlands are constructed very differently, whereas it's an activity by activity review of activity adjacent to a wetland and watercourse, and whether the proposed, and you're really assessing two things, whether the proposed activity, so the scope of the activity, and then its impact on the wetland. And so you can have the same activity, but next to two very different wetlands. So you have to assess the existing functions and values of the wetlands, which is, you know, one of the questions that we always ask, or what are the existing functions and values of the wetlands? And you ask that so that you can assess what is potentially going to be impacted, because certain functions and values of wetlands are more easily lost than others. High habitat value is a value of a wetland that is very sensitive to any encroachment. Stormwater retention, if that's its main value, is less impacted by adjacent activities. So it really depends on, I think you need to be sure that you're looking at this individual wetland and the individual activity, and be sure that that's in line. So even though it's
I like negotiating better, but okay.
I'm just understanding though, because this, even though it's a man-made wetland, I think it sounds like it was a relocated wetland, but it's still part of an active water course because it drains into a water course and it has a water course coming into it. So it's part of a larger water course, right? Or am I not understanding?
Technically hydraulically through a pipe, yes. But that could be argued about every pipe. Every pipe eventually discharges to a water body somewhere. But we don't regulate all pipes and catch basins. So yes, it's true, but the wetland regulations are not set up to regulate all that much, if that makes sense. You know, somewhat unfortunately, you are a little bit hemmed in by the state statutes and the expanse of those. So,
well, how will how will the proposed work affect the function and value of this wetland in particular?
That's the question.
So we've defined that the value and the function of the wetland is they're minimal, right? It's not flora or fauna or filtration, infiltration, retention is a part of it, right? Which I don't know, so that's one to consider. I just kind of feel like I totally get what you're saying, Catherine, about it's just more of the same stuff, more encroachment on wetlands, but in looking at it in 2 dimensions, I don't see there being a huge harm. And I think in concept, I don't like it, but in practice, it's not going to make a difference. But that's just my opinion. Anybody else?
I agree with you, Sue. I mean, unfortunately, and I feel the same way. It's not the best case scenario, but it's also like this little island by a major roadway, and it's.
So I'm just looking at, so under the application, there's the application form, and then there's the narrative and let's see who did this. Mr. Carey, who's a professional wetland scientist, says existing conditions. Well, he has a typo, but he says a separate wetland functions and values assessment was completed for, it says 27 Abbott Avenue, which is incorrect, but using the methodology as outlined in the Army Corps Engineers Highway Methodology book, which is the methodology for assessing functions and values. It identified 5 wetland functions and values for the on-site wetlands. Although I think this is, I'm not sure if this is just that one. It's not very clear. Primary functions for the mapped site wetlands are sediment, toxicant, pathogen retention. So basically trapping sediments, any toxins or pathogens in stormwater. Production export, sediment stabilization, and nutrient removal / retention. So it holds water fairly well, and it slows it down.
It sounded like a pun. It was not.
But I do think that the request to have a planting plan once all the invasive plants are removed, that you can, I think requesting a planting enhancement in addition to invasive plant management is reasonable with and in line with the scope of what you can require.
Okay.
And you can also continue to ask for more information about why other locations on the site won't work, and make sure that that's understood. And you can also continue to ask what exactly is the benefit of the 6 parking spots. I think those are all very good questions.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Well, it
Is
sounds
that
like
something
Mr.
we can
Carey will
expect
be at
tonight?
the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Is it all right then with you all if we move on from this? This one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then skipping ahead to conservation initiatives.
Let's see. I am still searching for, thought I had made a red line. This is revising the regulations. I thought I had made a red line, file of some typos, and I haven't been able to find that yet, but I'm still looking through some files. And I've started to just recreate it and read through the existing regulations and highlight some typos. So once I finish that, I'll forward that to you guys, and will include a proposed amendment language for changing the upland review area of wetlands in that. So that's in progress. I think that's really it for conservation. We did, there's a press conference tomorrow at Vets Park. I had requested, I applied for 2 grants, working with the Public Works Department. One from both from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. One's a national grant for coastal resiliency. And through that grant, we applied to do a green infrastructure project near the new proposed South Norwalk school. So the Meadow Street extension, Wilson Ave. At the same time, exploring salt marsh restoration at the top of the Village Creek salt marsh, where there's this roadway berm that bisects the existing salt marsh. So that was awarded over $500,000 to come up with a design to do the salt marsh restoration and tie it back to the stormwater that's going into that marsh. So that's cool. And then we also got a grant to also develop preliminary design plans for a complete redo of Veterans Park. And
Wow.
Yay!
to make certain areas more flood resilient and adaptive. And
The
to
sidewalk's
have
gone.
a lot. What's that?
I go there probably 3 times a week, and the sidewalk is gone. In the last 2 years, it just like completely went away.
Right. The southern edge of Vets Park has these asphalt walking paths that with sea level rise, those are underwater more often than not. And so we'd seek plans to have an extended natural vegetated buffer, like an expansive salt marsh, and have room for the salt marsh to continue landward as sea level rises. Have a buffer area, designs for a boardwalk, and kind of go through the hard exercise of trying to figure out what areas should we maybe kind of
Give
make
back to nature.
floodable, and but in return make some areas not as floodable. So kind of going for higher quality as opposed to maybe the large quantity, but underwater a lot of the time. So
That's great.
it'll be fun.
Good
That's
job,
awesome.
Alexis.
Yeah.
So there's a press conference tomorrow, is what you said?
Yeah. Just to announce the,
What time? And the new playground, I assume.
9.
Oh, AM? Yeah,
We-
okay. I was gonna say, I'm happily, because I'm there, but yeah, I'm not there at 9 AM.
Not at 9.
Good
So,
job, Alexis. That's great.
Yeah,
That's-
it is awesome.
That's it. The zoning regulations that you had reviewed, those were adopted. And the Planning and Zoning Commission, I believe, took most of your comments. Well, they certainly considered all of them, and that in the end of the day, some of them might not have been verbatim, but they definitely reacted to each of your comments. So.
Well, thank you for helping us get that to them.
Absolutely. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. You're on, Alexis.
Yep.
Okay, so comments of staff is next, but that was kind of comments of staff.
Yeah, so- Sorry.
No, it's good. Comments of commissioners.
Well done, Alexis. Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, thanks.
It's
Cool.
awesome.
Fun times.
Okay, well then, that's it. Would anyone like to move to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn,
I'll second.
always.
Any discussion? Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Have a nice
Holiday.
3 weeks off
Yeah.
until we meet again.
Yeah,
All
see
right,
you in the
good
new
night.
year.
Happy
Take
holidays.
care.
2024.
Bye.
Bye.